Most AI tools can't actually browse the web. They get blocked by captcha or firewalls. But what if you had your very own AI agent that could search the internet, scrape data just like a human would? And that's what I'll show you in today's video from scratch, how to build it. In this video, we're going to set up how to build this incredibly powerful web scraping AI agent that's going to be powered by Bright Data, one of the leading platforms in the world when it comes to scraping data off the internet. It's going to be your very own powerful tool that's going to be able to get live information from any website, including those ones that are normally blocked from letting bots access them. I'm going to show you exactly how it works, plus compare it to other leading platforms in the space like Apify, SERP API, as well as Brave Search that you may have used in the past, and help you decide which one is probably best for you. Don't worry, if you're new to this, I'll show you exactly how to do it from scratch, and you'll get access to all of the resources in the link below so that you can go through and build it yourself. But first, let's jump into a quick demo to see exactly how it works. Information from here. Now, if we come back across, what we'll be able to do, for example, is come across to this Amazon Fire TV stick. We'll come back into our agent. We'll be able to paste in there. So, for example, here, now it's got that information around that specific product. So if we wanted to go through, we'll be able to store this as we wanted. So what we're going to start off with is actually setting up our environment. So we're going to need to use n8n self-hosted version. So you want to come across to GitHub. You're then going to want to come down to the bottom here, and we're going to either look for it running locally. So this is where you're going to need node.js, and you're going to need to run this command. I've got another video which I'll link up here that will walk you through how to do that. Or in this case today, we're actually going to be running through using render, how we host our own version so that we can actually generate this AI agent. Once you've got your environment hosted on render, you want to come into your workflow. We're going to do create a workflow. And if you want to get access to any of the resources in the link below, come across to our community. You'll be able to come to classroom. We're going to be in AI agent. We're going to come down to our blueprint here. We'll be able to download that. If we come back into our environment, we'll be able to do import from files. So it's all ready to go for you. We'll be able to specify the prompt there. And there you go. It will be ready to go so that you'll be able to do it. But as mentioned, we're going to be running through how to build it from scratch together today. We're then going to do our first step. So we're going to do on a chat trigger. So we'll come down on chat message. We're also going to come through and add our AI agent, so advanced AI. And then we'll come down to our AI agent. And what we're going to be using is our chat model. So we're going to use OpenAI today. We'll come across, choose OpenAI. We're going to need to add our credentials in here. So again, to do that, you want to click in here, do new credential. You want to come across to Playground OpenAI. I'll include the links below for how to get access to this. You want to come across to dashboard, API keys, and then create a new key. You'll be able to give it a name, and then all you want to do is copy and paste this API key into your workflow here, and you'll get a new account. We've already got one set up, and that's going to be our MPC AI agent so that we can go through it and use that. So this is going to be our AI brain. We'll be able to give it some chat memories. We'll give it some simple memories. So now it's going to be able to remember the chat's history. So we set it, if we come back into here, just to remember the last 5 messages that came through from that user. We're going to need to go through and add our tools in here. So to do that, we want to do MCP client tool. If you've never set this up before, what you'll need to do is come down to the bottom left-hand corner. You want to come into settings. You've got the community nodes at the bottom here. So we're able to use that in this self-hosted version. But if we come across to the version here hosted on n8n itself, as you can see on the left-hand side here, we don't have access to it. Now to use our MCP, so that's Motex Context Protocol, which is the one that's been developed by Anthropic, we can use it on GitHub so that we can interact with our LLMs and be able and enable them to take actions as well. We want to come back across to where we've got our environment here. So that's the self-hosted version, whether that's locally or on platforms like Render. You're going to come down to community nodes. We've already got it installed here. So you can see we're on version 1.19. To install this, what you'll need to do is if we just copy this, come into install, and then you want to paste in there n8n-nodes-mcp. If you're not sure where this is, you can open it up. And what you'll be able to do is search at the top here, and you're looking for this package here, which is we've done videos on in the past. And this is how you're going to be able to set it up and all of the different functionalities around how it works, what the security is that sits behind it. Again, noting if you're doing the self-hosted version, you're going to need to come down and make sure that you have your package allow equals true so that we can go through and use these community variables. If you've got that all installed, we'll be able to come through and build our AI agent. So we'll come out of here. We'll come back into our workflow. So now we're going to go through and add our tools. So that's where we're now going to be able to use our MCP tool. As you can see here, we've not got any credentials at the moment, so we're going to need to go through and add them. But how do we know what to add? Well, what we're going to do is come across to here where we've got the Bright Data MCP package. I'll include the link below. Again, this is exactly the same place as where you'll find the n8n node MCP. So it's on the community side. We're going to come down here and we'll see some information. So we're going to need a Bright Data account. We're going to need an API key as well as some different aspects so that we can go through and use it and scrape the data that we need. Before we do that, I just want to run through why we're actually using Bright Data today. So we're going to cover this section a little bit later, which is around some of the tools that are available. But if we come to the right-hand side here, what we can actually see is if we compare it to some of the other leading platforms in this space, Bright Data is going to enable us to get that real-time data. Ones like Applify is only near real-time, SERP API and Brave, it's going to give us more of a historic lens with that ability to have search results versus information on specific pages. Bright Data is currently the only one that really enables us to get past those blocks that are bot preventions. And again, you can do that through Applify. It's a bit more complex. SERP API also enables this, but it's nice and easy with Bright Data. Again, that's the same for accessing protected sites. There is a limitation here that for some of them, we're going to touch on it a bit later. You will need what's called a premium domain, and that's going to cost you an extra $2.50 a month. We also see that what I quite like around Bright Data is actually you're going to pay per successful run. Ones like Applify are more charging you pace per run or execution that you take up some of their processing power. We've got to note that, of course, the output from Bright Data is not quite as good. It's going to need some actual analysis and sort of structuring from our side, whereas the other ones much better for the outputs they currently give. And we're going to be able to visit any website that we want with Bright Data versus the other ones we're not going to be able to. And if we come a bit further down, what I also quite like about this is the pricing side. So we're going to run through in a second around setting it up, but it's basically going to cost you around $1.50 to be able to access their web unblocker. Applify, again, depending on how complex the sites are, how many pages it needs to scrape, how long it takes to load the page. That's why there's a variance there of around $1 to $6. If we look at SERP API, again, to get 1,000 requests, you need to upgrade from their free plan to that first tier plan, and that's $75. So that would work out to around $15 per 1,000 requests, which is incredibly expensive. And Brave, yes, you can get free requests up to 2,000, in fact, for free. But again, it's just that web page results. It's not actually going through and analyzing any of this information. But let's jump back across and let's get our Bright Data set up so that we're going to be able to use this. So as mentioned, again, this is one of the leading platforms. As you can see here, some very notable companies that are using it. They've got lots of different tools. We're going to do a couple of different videos in the future around this. So again, let me know if there's anything in particular you want to see. We're going to be using this web unblocker API today. They've got different use cases for every industry. Lots and lots of information here, which is good, comparing against platforms like Applify, or you've got other ones on there that are very popular as well. Again, all compliant, which is great to see. And we're going to be able to go through and set up our own account. So you want to come into your dashboard once you've set up an account. We're going to come down to get proxies and products. We're going to be using this web unblocker API. We're going to do get started. Now, we're going to need to come back into our community nodes to get some information. Again, I'll flick back and forth, so make sure to rewatch this as many times as you need. As we can see here, if we scroll in a bit, we're going to need to call our web unblocker proxy zone, our MCP unblocker. So we're going to need to copy this. We'll come back across to Bright Data. We're going to give this the zone name as specified. We'll give it a quick description. So Bright Data for MCP. We're going to come through in this way. You've got those domains again. So where you've got any of these websites that you want to be accessing, that's where you're going to need that additional premium. So that's that $2 extra per month. If we add this, there we go, extra $2, $3 a month to access those websites. It's going to automatically solve any of these captures. So again, that overcoming any barriers to those blocks. You can add some additional functionality here. So around custom headers, cookies, manual elements. We're not going to be running through that today. You can do asynchronous requests. So this is very similar to on Applify. When you start an actor, it will go for complete the task, and then we'll use a get data set tool, and it'll be able to get the rest of the information. That's where your asynchronous request will be able to do that in parallel. We're not going to need any of that today. All we're going to need is our web unblocker API, and we're going to need that $1.50 to go through and use it. There are different plans, so if we just open this up, we're going to be using it as pay as you go, but they do have some more expensive plans here that you'll be able to go through and use. Again, because we're doing that scraping of the data, we're going to be able to keep that cost low at that $1.50. We'll come through and do add. We're going to do yes. Now it's going to go through and set up our environment for us. We've got some information here around how to be able to trigger. We're not going to need that for now because we're going to be using our AI agent to be able to go and do this automatically. What we are going to need to do though is come across to account settings. We'll open this up in a new tab. We'll come into our API settings. We're going to need to copy our API token here to use it in the future. We'll come back into our AI agent. So if we come in here, we're going to do create new credential. We're going to open this up for a minute. We're going to paste our API key in there. We're going to come back across to our community information around how to set it up. We're going to need to come a bit further down. This is how we're going to be able to set it up within our n8n community. So we're going to need the command. We're going to copy this, come back into our agent and paste that in there. So the command is going to be npx. We'll come back across. We're looking at Bright Data MCP. We'll paste that there in arguments, and then we're going to need to add our environment. So if we come down here, we're going to need our API token. We'll come back across, and then we're going to paste it in front here, and we're going to space, and then we're going to be able to use this ready to go, and we'll do save. So now we've got this all set up. We're going to change this to fixed, so it's not going to try and change it. We're going to come out of here. We're going to be able to do set automatically. We're looking for the list of tools at the moment. So this is going to be able to list out all of the actions that this agent can take. So for example, if we now come back through, we'll be able to do save. But before we trigger this, we're going to come into our AI agent. We're going to come down and do system message. We'll change it to expression and then pop this out. And we're going to paste our prompt in here. Again, if you come across to our community, you'll get access to all of these resources. So when you load it up, as we showed a bit earlier, it will work for you straight away. So now what we can do is save. We'll be able to do open chat. We can say, what tools do you have, and send this off. Now what it's going to be able to do is come through and tell us all of the different actions that it's able to take. So we'll wait for this to go through and execute. As you can see here, it looks like it failed. That's because if we come back in here, we should actually have specified it down here, environment. We needed to do, if we come back across, we'll paste in API token equals your token. We'll come back in here, paste in there. And then we'll come back into Bright Data and just get our API token. There we go. We copy this, which is our API token for that specific zone. We'll come back across and then we'll paste in here. So there we go. Now, if we do fixed and saved, we should be able to go through and use this one. So we'll go through and give it another test. We'll say, what tools do you have? We'll send this off. So we'll just wait for our results to come back. It should tell us all of the different tools that it's got available. So there, it's gone through and completed that action. We should get it on the left-hand side here. So we can see that we've got the search engine, scrapers markdown, scrapers HTML, session stats. We can see information around Amazon products. We can see around the product reviews as well. We can scrape LinkedIn personal data. We can scrape company data, and we can see some browser activations as well as session stats. So we've got lots and lots of functionality that we're able to do natively within this tool straight away, which is exactly what we want. What we've got here is the ability to list out the actions, but if we want to go through and execute any of them, we need to do MCP. We'll come down and do MCP client tool. We're going to do changing this from list tools. We're going to come up to execute tool. We're going to need to give it a tool name. To do that, we want to come across to expression. We're going to paste in there, and we're going to be using the from AI function. We're going to be using tool name. And what we've basically said here is we're looking for the most applicable tool that is available to the AI agent that can go through and be executed. And we need it in a string format so that we can go through and actually get the results that we need. But how do we get the AI to actually do the searching? Well, that's where we're going to need to come through and do expression. As you can see here, we're now going to be able to do the query as well as specify the search engine. That's where we can use Google, Bing, or Yandex to be able to go through and do our search. So for example, today, what we'll do is come out of there and do save. We'll be able to say, please tell me the latest AI news. We'll be able to send this off. It should go through and execute the tool for us and be able to provide those responses back. Now, again, this is hard coded at the moment, so it's going to give us the exact same result that we would want back. What we'll be able to do, again, this is live data that's be able to come back here. So again, this is the latest one compared to other ones where it's just SERP API or something that's maybe a bit more historic. So for example, here, if we wanted to go through, what we'll be able to do is pull across this. And then what we're also going to do is specify this. So we can do our curly brackets. We'll be able to come in the middle and we can do from AI. We'll be able to say search engine. We'll be able to do string and we'll pop this out. And then what we'll be able to do in here, say, please ask the user to choose between Google, Bing, or Yandex to complete the search and then use this. There we go. And then we'll come out of there. We'll be able to do save. So now what we should be able to do is go through and say, please tell me the latest news to do with F1. We'll be able to send this off. Now what it should be able to do is go through and execute the tool for us. So there we go. Should go through it and now be able to do it dynamically. Again, we're going to go through and show you how to scrape some data in a minute and be able to stare at tools like Airtable. It's now going to run this execution for us. It's successfully completed it. So as we can see here, this is all the information that we've got back. And on the left-hand side here, we've got the latest from the Saudi Arabian qualifying that literally just happened. So that's absolutely fantastic. We're able to get that information. Sorry if there's any spoilers there. We've got some red team updates, driver moments. So again, this is great. We're now able to go through and execute the tool. So what we're going to need to do though is actually change it so that we've got two tools, one for the searching side, which as you can see here, we've done, but also one that's going to be able to go through and scrape the data. So we'll be able to come into here and we'll be able to search tool. We'll do save. Now we're going to come through and do another one. We'll do MCP. We'll do client tool. We're going to come through and do execute tool. Now the reason for this is because we're going to need a slightly different one. We're going to come through to here and we're going to do URL analysis as the title. We're going to come into here and just grab the tool name so that we've got that we're able to use. And then we're going to come through and enter in our parameters here. And to do that, we're going to paste in, for example, here we've got our URL and then the one that we're scraping. So again, what we need to do is change this to be from AI. So we'll do brackets and then we're going to do from AI. We are going to need to change this to expression though to be able to go through and use it. So we'll just come across to expression. We're going to be able to say brackets from AI. We're going to be able to do our usual request in there. So 2 commas. We'll be able to come back to the start and say URL. I would say the URL provided by the user that they want scraped. We would say it's a string. We're also going to come up here and change the most applicable tool. We're just going to say the most applicable, and then we're going to put scraping tool so that it's going to be able to go through and get the outputs that we want. So now we'll be able to go through and scrape specific websites. We can say, please extract the product information from here. Now, if we come back across, what we'll be able to do, for example, is come across to this Amazon Fire TV stick. We'll come back into our agent. We'll be able to paste in there. So imagine you've got lots of different agents that you're going to be executing through. It's just asking us to confirm. We're going to say yes. Now what it should be able to do is execute this URL analysis tool. Oh, it looked like it failed there. I think that's because with URL analysis, actually what we need it to do is go through and use the following tool to be able to conduct the scraping. And we'll be able to send this off. And then what it should be able to do is instead of using that search or URL analysis, it's going to go through and try and use that specific one that we just provided around being able to scrape that specific product information. So we'll just wait for this to come back and it should give us all the information that we need. So again, imagine if you're doing competitor analysis or you wanted this to run in the background more like an automation, you'd be able to extract all of this information around those specific products. And we'll be able to go through and update the prompt as well. So for example, here, now it's got that information around that specific product. So if we wanted to go through, we'd be able to store this as we wanted. So for example, we could come across the tool. We could do Airtable. We could do Airtable tool. We could come across and create a new credential. We need an access token. So to do that, we want to come across to where we've got Builders Hub. We'll come down to where we've got personal access tokens. We'll do create a token. We call this MCP Bright Data Agent. We need to give it all of the scopes in this case. There are some specific ones. So data read write as well as the schema side. But we're just going to go through and add all of these so we wouldn't have any issues. So we'll make sure that we've got all of these added. We'll come down to add a base. We'll come Bright Data AI Agent. There we go. And then we'll do create a token. Again, this will give us access to that specific table that we've generated. We'll paste in there. So we should be all good to go. Now, if we come down, what we'll be able to do is actually create or update. So what we're going to do is create a new row. We're going to go through in Bright Data. We're going to go through and do scraped results. And then what we're going to say is the request made. So we'll be able to put across that result in there and we'll be able to do results return so we can let AI actually define that. So now we can go through, we'll do save, and we'll be able to rename this to store query. We're able to do save. We can say, great, please store this information in Airtable for future reference. So now we can send that off, and what it should go through is automatically write it into our Airtable database so that we'll be able to use it in the future as we need. So we'll just wait for this to go green, and it should go through it and store it as we need it. So there we go, it's now executing it. If we come back into Airtable, we'll do done. We'll come back into our specific hub. There we go. So now it's got all of this information stored in here. It looks like you went through and it stored it as JSON for some reason. We'll just open this up. As we can see there, it's gone through and stored all the information as we need it. So imagine if you're going through and scraping information, storing it, this would be really useful to go through and do it. Again, we'd be able to go through and change the formatting for how we wanted this to be stored. And that would be really great. So if we came back into our agent, we'd be able to come across to store query. We'd be able to come down here. We could do from AI results returned. We could say, we'll pop this out, and then we can say in the middle here, all of the key information for a product research analyst in an easy to consume way. We'll save this. And what it should be able to do is store that information as we need. Again, we can add different options in there. We can go through and store it as much as we want, which is great. But that's going to be a really quick way to go through and be able to analyze and extract all of this information, overcome a lot of the bot blockers that are out there for not being able to extract key information or get the latest and greatest insight. We're going to have lots of videos coming on how to actually leverage tools like this, which are market leading. So let me know if you've got any ideas in the comments below. And if you want to get access to any of the resources we've run through today, all of them will be in the link below. Stay tuned for more around AI agents and automation, and have a great day.